What if I told you that Hamilton already seriously doubts the Ferrari project, and that it all started in a hidden test in Abu Dhabi? That the car that promised a new era for Maranello collapsed technically to the point of breaking the confidence of the seven-time world champion? Can Ferrari recover in time for 2026? Or are we witnessing the beginning of another red failure? In the middle of December, with the championship lights already off, Ferrari was facing one of the most critical moments in its recent history. In the Abu Dhabi paddock, far from the usual media attention, the team immersed itself in a test that was supposed to be a simple end-of-season evaluation. But what happened there was anything but routine. It was the turning point that shook the foundations of the Ferrari 2026 project. Lewis Hamilton, a newcomer to the team, was not only going to complete his first test laps in ideal conditions. What he found was something much more alarming. From the first round, the SF25's behavior left him baffled. The sensations behind the wheel were inconsistent. The car felt unstable at high speed, erratic at corner entry, and lacking precision in the traction phases. The most worrying thing was not the lack of rhythm. It was the inability to predict how the car was going to react. It wasn't a setup problem. It was not an issue of tires, nor of specific aerodynamic configuration. The symptoms went much further. Hamilton's technical team, which includes engineers highly specialized in advanced dynamics and high-frequency analysis, began detecting anomalous signals using tools that the core Maranello team had not fully implemented. Additional sensors installed at key points on the suspension, high-speed cameras on the flat bottom, and real-time modeling of the car's aerodynamic behavior began to show a very different picture than the digital models had predicted. Each turn brought more data, and each piece of information confirmed the unthinkable. The car had structural problems. Not isolated aerodynamics, not minor design details, but failures that directly affected the DNA of the SF25. The correlation between the simulator, the wind tunnel, and the track was broken. The car that had been designed, the car that had been modeled, was not the car that Hamilton had under control on the Yas Marina main straight. The atmosphere in the Ferrari pit went from contained enthusiasm to awkward silence. The engineers looked at each other without clear answers. Fred Vasseur was trying to stay calm as reality filtered through the telemetry reports line by line. The technical meetings that were supposed to last an hour extended into the early hours of the morning. Hamilton, for his part, showed no frustration. He showed concern. I knew exactly what I was seeing: a bad car. In any other context, these types of discoveries could have been addressed with time, development, and patience. But the clock was already ticking. The new regulations for 2026 were getting closer. And if the SF25 was a preview of Ferrari's technical philosophy for that new era, then there was much more to revise than a pair of spoilers and a flat bottom. This test in Abu Dhabi not only activated technical alarms, it activated strategic doubts. And the most dangerous thing for Ferrari, it raised doubts about its brand new star signing. The same driver who had left Mercedes looking for one last great opportunity, a structure with ambition and the ability to win again. Instead, Hamilton found uncertainty, technical disarray, and a familiar sensation, that of an unresponsive car. Ferrari doesn't just have to fix a car. He has to regain the trust of a champion who has seen beyond the brilliant design of his new car. He has seen what very few can identify so quickly, that this car inside is broken. And if action is not taken now, 2026 will be another painful chapter in the history of Maranello. What appeared to be a momentary anomaly during the Abu Dhabi test was soon revealed to be a systemic failure. The SF25 is not simply a slow or difficult to understand car. It is a car that does not work from its foundations. It does not meet the basic principles of aerodynamic stability, structural integrity, and dynamic response that any modern Formula One car must guarantee. The first major evidence of this came when analyzing the flat bottom, a critical piece in the ground effect era. What the sensors detected was anomalous flexing. Under high load conditions, particularly in fast cornering and during lateral weight transfer, the bottom began to deform in irregular patterns. This bending, although subtle and not visible to the human eye or in traditional data, altered the behavior of the airflow dramatically. The air that circulates under the car must be kept sealed, channeled, organized. It is the basis of the ground effect. But in the SF25, the bending generated zones of turbulence, broke the laminar flow, and created pockets of poorly distributed negative pressure. This generated something even more serious than the simple loss of charge: an unstable, intermittent, unpredictable charge. Just when the driver most needed confidence and lateral support, at fast corner entry, on lines under pressure, the car began to behave erratically, as if it disconnected its aerodynamic foundations. But the most devastating thing was in the back. Ferrari redesigned the car's rear suspension for straight-line efficiency. They modified the geometry of the lower arm and redirected stress to the seat stay to improve load transfer. On paper, it was a valid decision. But in practice, that design introduced unexpected lateral twisting behavior. Under load, the rear axle deformed in a non-linear manner, altering the height of the car and breaking its dynamic balance. In simple words, the rear of the car moved when it shouldn't move, and it didn't do so in a predictable way. The ground clearance changed without control, the flat bottom lost its seal with the asphalt, and the entire aerodynamic system collapsed. A single change of a few microns was enough to upset the delicate balance between front and rear loading. That collapse was felt directly in the driver's hands as a sudden loss of grip, as if the car went from stable to uncontrollable in a fraction of a second. And the worst thing, engineers discovered a phenomenon even more difficult to accept. Under very specific G-load and speed conditions, micro-separations were generated at the suspension anchor points. They were not constant, they could not be replicated in the simulator or in the wind tunnel. They only occurred on the track, and only under certain combinations of forces that no digital model had anticipated. Because if the structure does not react in time, if the development philosophy is not redefined before 2026, this project can become the bitter epilogue of one of the greatest races in the history of Formula One. And if Ferrari fails again, it will not be for lack of a driver. It will be due to lack of direction. What happens in 2026 will not be a product of chance. It will be the direct consequence of the decisions that Ferrari makes or does not make at this precise moment. The Abu Dhabi test not only exposed the shortcomings of the SF25, it exposed the real state of a structure that, despite its history and resources, has not been able to consolidate a solid technical culture in the modern era of Formula One. The worrying thing is that the situation is more serious than it seems. Because the problem is not just the car. It is the working model, the methodology, the philosophy that guides decisions at Maranello. If the 2025 car, conceived with the intention of being a competitive transition to the new regulations, already shows serious structural deficiencies, then the 2026 project runs a major risk of repeating and even amplifying those errors. Ferrari, on the other hand, has been a victim of its own incomplete cycles. Every project begins with promises, with good partial results, with hope. But it ends in inconsistencies, development errors, or lack of technical correlation. And the central concern going into 2026 is this: are they really understanding why they fail? The new regulations, which will usher in a new aerodynamic and energy era, demand not only creativity, but surgical precision in digital modeling, dynamic correlation, and the overall architecture of the car. There will be no room for mid-course corrections. There will be no room for wrong philosophies disguised as innovation. Whoever makes a mistake from the bottom up will pay the price for years. And this is where Hamilton's role comes in. His signing was, in essence, a declaration of intentions. Ferrari didn't just want a winning driver. I wanted to incorporate a mindset of excellence. A culture of technical demand that could permeate the entire organization. But a driver, no matter how great he is, cannot change the DNA of a team alone. Need backup. You need strategic decisions to go in the same direction. Therefore, what is at stake for 2026 is not just one more season. It is the credibility of the project. It's Hamilton's confidence. It is the message that Ferrari will give to the rest of the paddock. Is it going to be a serious contender in the new era, or is it going to continue trapped in the nostalgia of what it was and cannot be again? Ferrari has in its hands the possibility of changing its destiny. But to do so, you must accept the hardest truth of all, that you have failed. That you must start from scratch. And that, if you don't do it now, the next big opportunity won't come in 2027 or 2028. Maybe never. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.